order, but before I do, I'll read my great introduction. This meeting is being recorded. The listing of matters are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're both online and at home. Do a roll call. Peter Roach present.
Jacob Stebbins, present.
Susan Lorenz present.
David Carpenter present.
Robert Brandon present.
And Rachel, we're up to you.
Yep, Rachel Dinkus, present.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to jump to, as the introduction said, I'm going to jump down to number 5 for the approval of minutes. We've got 3 sets of minutes from Tuesday, March 21st, Thursday, March 23rd, and Tuesday, March 28th. So
I make a motion, we vote to accept the minutes from the meeting of March 21st, 2023.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it? I can still do I don't have to do a roll call for each one.
Do you any vote that is any meeting that's conducted hybridly, you have to do a roll
All
call.
right, Rachel, you're voting first.
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, aye.
Susan, I.
David, aye.
Okay, thank you.
I make a motion, we vote to accept the minutes as presented from March 23rd, 2023.
Seconded.
Aye.
Robert, aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, aye.
Susan, I.
David, aye.
Okay. 2,
I make a motion, we vote to accept the minutes as presented from the meeting of March 28th, 2023.
Seconded.
Rachel.
Aye or nay?
Was that an aye?
That was an aye, yep.
Okay.
Robert, aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, aye.
Susan, I.
David, aye.
All right. All right, we'll move on to the department requests. And as in the past, I'm kind of gonna fly through these. If anybody has any questions on something, just feel free to stop me. Of course, the second one is one I have a question on. I don't know if anybody has spoken to the new moderator, whether he's looking for the 2% or not, or as in the past moderator for the since for a number of years, the moderator's stipend stayed at $500. I don't know if anybody's talked to him about 510 or not that it matters, the $10.
So no, just in terms of background, in terms of applying, yeah, my recommendations included the proposal of 2% of all currently stipended positions. So that's how we got there. We just
Okay. Across the board.
Exactly.
I know that you're just a private citizen tonight, but you have any opinion on, I know you both Board of Selectmen and the town. The census was very fast. Okay,
Do we still not have a policy in place? for Stipends?
We tried that at the special. It kind of backfired. We proposed, we had like I think a pretty tightly defined bylaw that would have really tried to define this process going forward. As a follow-up to the special, there was So there have been like a lot of the discussion about the, so in terms of setting the stipends of elected appointed officials for Warren. That is something, that traditionally has been done or has been recommended by the selectmen. And so, generally the consensus, as I understand it, was that the board wanted to reserve the ability to make really wage adjustment or cost of living adjustments from time to time. So without having a policy that actually may require them on a more regular basis. And so so this leaves it really as a policy recommendation and a policy decision that based on the town's financial realm. But also like other things as well, that it could be a policy decision from time to time, not being. And that wouldn't be something so tightly defined as the board bylaw was.
My understanding, based on past practice, is that was a board of selectmen policy and they felt appropriate to give issue, I'm not calling raise or cost of living increase based upon factors, length of time and availability of funding. In this case, it's been quite a while before people on committees, boards have gotten an increase. The other issue, and it's a big one, is trying to get people to serve on these committees. It's really, really hard. We have a lot of vacancies.
Well, I don't think stipend is a driver for people volunteering to sit on committees. Certainly isn't for me.
I
He's
agree.
getting,
So
he's getting rich.
I have,
From the.
I mean,
This
there's
is two types of stipends here. There's stipends for our salaried employees.
and then there's stipends for volunteers who sit on boards or committees that pay a stipend. And there are some that are 100% volunteer.
Okay.
So salary is, to me, is something that you get paid for in terms of your job responsibilities. The stipend for our town employees who receive one is for a couple of different things, as I understand. Number one is achievements, or additional. Well, no, regardless, the stipend is for a particular role that they have to play, a set role that they have to play, in addition to their job responsibilities. That should be treated differently than a stipend for a committee, like the Board of Selectmen, like the Finance Committee, like the moderator position. Okay, and the role is the role, whether you have served at 1 year or 5 years or 15 years. You're here. If you were expecting a cost of living adjustment as a board member, as a committee member or a board member, just because of doing the role, then why are you in it for the, my question is are you in it for the money? I mean, is money your motivator, especially at 2%? Okay, because 2% of $500 is $10. Are you really in it for the $10?
Gonna turn the job down for the lack of $10, yeah.
Right.
Right. Are you not going to run for a moderator position because of $10? Okay, so we really, in my opinion, we should be having a schedule of stipends that basically says, this is what the stipend is. And it's a flat rate, and it shouldn't matter if Sue's been here for a year now, and I've been here for over 10 now, I guess. It doesn't matter. The role is the role. Her responsibilities are no different than my responsibilities. Okay, so should I, and here's the other thing. So if I had gotten stipend increases up to five, let's say we were at $550 for this role. Okay, Sue's coming in fresh. Okay, she's never been on the finance committee before. Should she also receive $550? No, the role should be starting and maintained at a single level and for everyone.
Mhm.
Okay. And until we get somebody who can actually drive some decisions here, my stand on stipends is for volunteers, there is no increase.
It has been the prerogative of the Board of Selectmen to make that determination.
It's been that way for 2 years now, though. We're no closer to that.
So
This
we
is-
tried to introduce a bylaw that
Yep.
actually, so that actually every problem, for every challenge that, like everything we wanted. So like everything that was reflected in the draft bylaw or the proposed bylaw. Basically being contrary to everything you just mentioned, because it incentivized our boarding committee members who frankly had more than our 3 years of service on the board of committee. So that's why, going back to this, the process where it becomes a policy, so it becomes a policy recommendation that, so is really the only ability that, so that we could really define to treat everyone equally, to have a FinCom stipend for one member the same as another member, that, so yes. So that doesn't get into who has been there longer than who. That was a part of the post feedback we heard from the bylaw that was actually recommended, presented at town meeting. So like it created levels of disparity between members of the same board doing the same job.
But an increase of 2% on a minimal stipend is not an incentive for me to come back and serve. I'd rather see the town retain that extra $10 per stipend.
Right.
Per member. And you're talking, well, I don't even know how many stipends we pay. Now, we're not talking about the town employee side of it.
Yep.
Talking strictly about the voluntary side. Okay, well, let's just say that there's 30 of these positions. Okay, which amounts to, simply $300. But really? I mean, is $300 going to make or break this budget? No, but keeping track of all of that stuff and trying to figure out, should we budget for it or not, is ridiculous. It's a flat rate. This is what the stipend is. People aren't in this for the money. People are in this to make this town better and to operate more efficiently and smoothly and to look out for the things that this town needs. Okay. Right. So why are we, so why has it been so difficult for us to establish a policy on this? And why do we continuously, year after year after year, going back, I think almost my entire length on this committee, where stipends every single year is a topic of conversation? It shouldn't be. It should just be strictly, this is it. This is what the stipend is. And when I am asked, do you want to be a member of the finance committee? Again, by the moderator, and he appoints me. I know full well what the role entails and what the stipend is. And the stipend is not the driving force here. The stipend is the last thing on the list. It's more so about, in the case of the finance committee, are we, setting a budget that this town can live with And are we accounting for all of the operational and capital expenditures that are necessary for us to function now moving forward?
So, Serene, can I ask an accounting question? Just, is it possible, rather than a bylaw, to even just have an accounting policy on stipends?
So we're trying to develop like financial town policies.
Yeah,
So it would probably fall into that.
something
category.
along. And it would those policies, do those need to be voted on at town meeting or just approved by this?
So yes, so typically on financial policies, they were buying from both the BOS and the FinCom, so I'm
Yep.
on the same page. I mean, I just. So like, I mean, I think what I'm kind of hearing is that there have always been a general. A general concern with any type of. I won't actually call them a cost of living adjustments because I don't disagree with what's been said either, like a wage adjustment. So if there's been, so I think, so like if there's actually concerns with the concept of a wage adjustment for, like for an elected appointed board member. Then I think honestly, that's what frankly should be discussed. Like I think to have a policy about whether or not so a 2% is equally applied or not. I just ask what exactly is a policy like that really going to say other than, so do you apply a 2% increase for stipend employees across the board or not? I mean, how much, like, I just wonder what a policy will actually say different other than a vote to do that or not. So that.
Yeah, I don't think we need a bylaw. I think if we establish it in our financial policies. And we differentiate between. Town employees. Who
Yeah,
receive a stipend
Yes, we did in the.
versus.
Yep.
Versus volunteers.
Issue with the bylaw, right, was that?
That was exactly the issue with the bylaw because some of it overlapped
Yeah,
into town employees.
yeah.
And so I go back to my question. What is really a policy really going to do other than? I mean, if it says it happens every year, that's one thing, but the other issue that we also have that we want to be mindful of as well, that I brought to the selectmen's attention. So if we have a policy that. That makes any increase or proposed increase like automatic or like creates an inherent. Automatically increase based on something. What we are also dealing with is a $5,000 trigger for those elected or appointed board members. Once that stipend hits $5,000, we trigger credible service for the retirement board. So like I actually believe having it undefined. So yeah, it doesn't like automatically or inadvertently hit that threshold without us having any control. Right now, we have some control, right? So we are watching, especially with two of our stipend and boards with the proposed 2% increase, like it's like almost there. I mean, rather having an automatic escalator. So it's automatically going to reach that. I mean, I think we as a town have to be mindful of the fact whether or not we want to trigger that threshold or not, because so if we do, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. We just have to be mindful if we do. So that's also going to trigger an increased retirement assessment.
But I don't think that the suggestion was to have a standardized runaway snowball effect of increases. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was more just ascertaining a middle ground, maybe where you say, hey, every 3 years, this will be open to discussion, and interim between that, it's not even worth discussing, right? And these types of committees will prevent not just time, but I don't think that like a 2% every year is the policy that would be suggested. It would be more like, hey, can we every 3 or every 5 years, whatever we determine is accurate. Maybe we can revisit the things, but if we don't have to, then why? Is that kind of what your thoughts are, or?
Well, yeah, I think that's one thought. The other thought is similar to what happened with the Board of Health. Right? Which is, we started them at, I believe, $500, not knowing exactly what their responsibilities were going to be. And did a reevaluation 16 months later, roughly, 12 to 16 months later, and determined that they were doing a whole heck of a lot more work than what was originally thought. And we reevaluated the stipend and said, this is where they should be. And that same process should probably be done across the board every 3 to 5 years for all boards. So has the role of the finance committee changed from when I started over 10 years ago to now? No. Stipend should remain the same. Okay.
On some points,
Right.
if there's anything that's grossly unfair, it's the school committee that gets nothing.
Yes, sir.
Well, whether or not we,
We're not opening that door.
Yeah. That's not our door to open.
if somebody else wants, if somebody else wants to open that door, right?
Has to reach.
And then it becomes a matter of how do we fund something like that? Then we'll get ourselves involved in that conversation. But yes, I mean, I agree, they're.
But yes, I agree with the point that there should be a set value for it. Yes, and knowing full well what the responsibilities are, what the compensation is, do you want it or not?
Right, because the alternative is this. I'm in it for the stipend and you're not gonna increase it, I'll decline the appointment. That's it.
I think then from our standpoint, then it really then comes down to, rather than looking at the stipends as a whole, looking at them on an individual basis. And because there are, like I had told Mike this afternoon, that I was gonna recommend nothing for us, that we would be the same as we've been for the last 7 years. But somebody like planning, I mean, Woody mentioned it, we know that they're doing. They're doing a lot more than they had been in the past, so, you know, somebody like that.
One could make the argument of guys on conservation. There's 3 guys on conservation. They've been doing it for 50 years. 50 years.
Did I see they're getting a boot allowance though now?
That's the agent.
Yeah.
But because what? For the reasons I stated earlier, for the good of the town.
Yes.
All right, so we'll go through. And again, if anybody wants me to pull out, I'm gonna say a group of numbers. Let me know if you want me to stop or pull any out.
Okay.
I'm gonna include the Board of Selectmen in here with the 2% increase because, and I think they've probably,
Well,
there was additional work in there. Like there was on the draft.
The draft was, you know,
Yeah.
it's not-
On the draft warrant, it's got the 5 instead of 51.
On the draft warrant, that is just a placeholder. The numbers haven't been added in yet.
So I'm gonna be reading these off based on the TA recommendations. So 113, 122, 124. Any questions on any of those?
The only question that I had was the clerical salary,
Clerical salary can't be
For-
adjusted.
122. No, it wasn't in the BOS column. They weren't. TA has requesting 20. The Department of Budget has 20, but the BOS column is yellowed out.
Yes. So that was something that was just actually added like this morning, actually. We are wrapping up the process with bargaining with the clerical union.
Okay.
We've been having a very good process that we're close to wrapping things up, hopefully. But the clerical salary is a salary reserve. So we go to town meeting, with proposing the funding we need. So in order to fund the first year, of a collective bargaining agreement.
So if that contract gets approved, then. so we can-
Then so the 20 is
we can
there,
allocate
so
the
that-
20 over
Gotcha.
to the department.
Okay. Yeah, another question.
So yeah, like we were like initially trying to have the timing so we could, integrate. That like into all the budgets, like at this point with the warrant timeline and everything else, we're just not gonna make it.
Thank you.
Any other questions on
No,
any of those? Take a motion to recommend the TA to follow the TA recommendations.
Seconded.
Is that 113, 114, and 122 or?
113, 122,
And
124.
I make a motion to accept those amounts in the departments 113, 122, and 124 as posted in the draft.
second,
For the TA recommendation.
TA recommendations, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Rachel was the aye, Robert?
That was an
Peter,
aye,
aye.
yep.
Jacob's aye.
Susan's aye.
David, aye.
Okay. We go back to 114 and 131. And 132. And I think there, for those three. We would base on. I would be looking at the 24 department requests. If anybody.
Agreed.
Any other questions on those? Take a motion.
131.
Yeah.
And 132.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? Take a motion.
Motion to approve the department requests for department numbers 114, 131, and 132.
Second,
Rachel,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, aye.
Susan, aye.
David, aye.
Side question,
Yeah,
when does the finance committee typically beat out your stuff?
usually at the last pay period of
Last
the.
one in June.
One. 135. 141. Then I've got, well, actually, I can add these, 145. 146. 151. $155.
For all of these that you listed, the TA recommendation matches the department request.
No, TA recommendation matches Board of Selectmen's request in two cases. 145 and 146. The collector and treasurer salary is adjusted down to 2% increase from the request of a 3% increase.
We suggesting same TA and Board of Selectmen columns for
Yeah, for simplicity, just the TA recommendation.
Yeah.
Mhm. I make a motion, the vote to accept the TA recommendations for departments 135, 141, 145, 146, 151, and 155.
Second.
Rachel,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
aye.
Jacob, aye.
Susan, I.
David, aye.
Couple. Look at it, 158. 161. 161 for now, 158 and 161. Similar that the request was for over 3%. The TA and Board of Selectmen reduced it to a 2% increase. And there was also a request for an education, I don't want to say stipend, but a bump for education that, in my opinion, would have been included in last year's significant increase.
Mhm.
Questions on any of those?
I make a motion, we vote to accept the TA recommendations for departments 58 and 161 as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
So that education request, I just want to get a little bit of clarification on it. The ask for this was based on additional education received by the clerk?
No, it was based on no new education. It was based on historic education prior to his becoming the clerk.
Yes.
Meaning that he,
To the position with a bachelor's degree. And now he requested an $800 increase because he has a bachelor's degree.
okay. And the reason why that was a separate request from,
I'm gonna guess he probably originally threw it into his total increase. And it was probably closer to 4%. And
Yeah, I can speculate, when the town clerk was appointed, 2 years ago. He was hired at what I think we all agree was an artificially low salary. But that salary did have an education stipend of $800 in it. When we were working towards and planning towards FY 23, we then used the FY 22 position as really the starting point and wanted to generally bring him closer up to market and to market. And so the recommendations that were made during last year's budget process were made with that $800 included.
Or based on the educational skills he had at that point. He already had the BA.
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
okay.
any other questions on that?
No, but I would be interested to know, do we have? I know we have a tuition allowance budget in here as well.
Yes.
Is there any sort of policy or contractual obligation that basically says if you use that and then you leave the town within a certain period of time that you have to repay it? Or there's nothing, we need to start looking at
You need to
that.
start looking at it.
So.
In additionally, especially if we're gonna be basing increases off of them receiving additional education that the town is paying for. There should be no education stipend because we paid for their education.
Yes.
Okay, and then the other piece to that is we need to do a better job of tracking, like what salaries would be if you have a high school level education versus an associate's level versus a bachelor's versus a master's. Because I was left with a little sour taste in my mouth with what happened with the town clerk. Through no fault of his own, just I was left not quite understanding how we even got to that point. But my point would be this, is if we understand what the job is and what we're going to pay based upon education levels, then we may not get ourselves into those situations.
So we do have a process of education. Like an education stipend that for any employee who has a bachelor's degree. The education stipend that employee receives is $800. Like, it's not a question, it's. Yeah, the policy is applied everywhere. So that is how we differentiate.
Is that every year?
Yes. Yes.
So if I had known that, then I would suggest that we reduce the town clerk's
Salary.
salary by $800 and just increase his education stipend to $800. Decrease one and offset, give him the 2%. But decrease. So that his salary plus education looks like everybody else's.
Yes. I wholeheartedly understand what you're like saying, with our non-union employees, we're still also trying to, and what we've and what we have actually began working on in our non-union agreements. So as we come up, when we have agreement, on a final bottom line in salary that basically reflects everything to do with the job, the function, the education required. So we don't actually get into breaking everything out anymore. And so that's how we move forward. We've also just to go back, we've also with regards to the 4 non-union agreements that have been entered into by the town this year. We've also had clawbacks. We've also had clawbacks on education. We also now have the clawbacks and like an increasing number of aspects that if an employee that if some employees do leave or end service at the beginning of the fiscal year, they don't get paid out for a whole year's worth of vacation as well. So we have been laser focused on those type of issues. The uniqueness here, so it's because the employee here is an elected official. That's really where we have, we don't have an ability to have a contractual agreement that actually sets these limits with an elected official every year. That has the potential to be up to chance. As much as we want to try to find it.
So if he's an elected official and I decided to run next year and I get voted in, what's my salary? Is it the same as what he received, provided I have the same education that he had? Or is it something that's negotiated?
No, I would very much argue that the salary that is there now reflects the salary. So it reflects the salary for a clerk who works in a small town of 8,000 people, because we look so at the market universe.
Yeah.
I feel like a town clerk that is not yet certified. Once the town clerk becomes certified, there are other increases actually required by law. But if you hypothetically were elected on April 10th. I would very much argue that the salary for FY24, so we're not depend on who you are, so it would be based on the position. And I feel that the salary that we pay now So yeah, like it's like a market appropriate position.
Which is similar to when Sue left. In that, then the replacement salary was significantly lower than.
And I think in hindsight, that created a lot of confusion. I guess actually got too low and then.
But
As we found out last year, those elected officials can always bring their case, to town meeting.
Yeah.
The recommendation, and
not down. I do have a question on 162 before. There is a difference between we might have talked about this, like the off-duty between the TA and the Board of Selectmen.
Yes.
So is the Board of Selectmen, is that the two-ish officers?
Yes, our 2 offices per election, that the 2 offices per election would be funded at the 4605. 3 offices per election, which we have a primary in the English town election and FY 24. The 6970 would fund 3 offices per election, where the 4605 would fund 2.
How many does 3070?
Yeah. Where's the other number from? Oh, okay. You're looking at.
I might be looking at.
Yeah.
You know, one too.
Sorry.
I've been trying to find the link to that all night.
Luckily I saved it on my browser, like I made it a bookmarks so that I can go back to it, because otherwise you're right, I would have been digging for.
Just need the link for it.
No, so the version sent out via email, so
Yeah, I'm sorry.
4605
But Mike, but for the,
Yeah, when we be able to circle back on that.
was 6970.
you have the Board of Selectmen up.
Yeah, it's this one, right?
That's
That's a request.
over. Maybe I got cut off of this one.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right, so we'll
I'm
move
missing a
back
column?
to 162. We will take 163, 171,
So I just sent that to your email. See if that
Thank you.
works. Yeah.
174,
Yeah, that whole column's cut off.
175 and 176.
Okay, so 160. Did you repeat the first one?
Yeah, 163,
Yep.
171, 174, 175, 176.
All right. I'm looking at all of them.
The big differences here between department requests and TA Board of Selectmen recommendations is the 2% versus there.
Yeah.
In
Planning,
Conservation.
conservation,
conservation, yeah.
6%.
Any questions on any of those? Take the motion.
Motion to accept the TA recommendations for departments 163, 171, 174, 175, and 176.
Second.
All in favor, Rachel,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Okay.
If we can circle back on the elections.
Yeah, you-
Just like I do have an answer there, like,
Okay.
I just have to refresh myself. So on the off-duty police details, this. Let me go back to the budget actually. So this, the board of selectmen recommendation at $3,070 is accurate. So what,
For two, right?
huh?
For two?
Yes, how this process happened, was originally in the 6970. 6970, so it included 3 officers, per election. And in a police officer to staff, 1 week of early voting. So in my recommendation, because we identified a space within town hall to have early voting happen at town hall, rather than here, like it eliminated the need for that officer for the week.
Okay,
So my recommendation took that out. And then when we got, my recommendation took that week out, but still had 3. Then when we got to the selectmen, that they kept that week out and then reduced the 3 to 2.
okay.
And as we discussed today, two should be planning.
Yes.
So for this, are you gonna amend yours or are you gonna leave yours at the 4605?
My recommendation isn't even reflected in the warrant
Okay.
anyway, so
Okay.
it's almost irrelevant,
That makes sense.
like me.
No.
So for 162, I would be looking for a motion to
Bring our recommendation up.
to the Board of Selectmen's recommendation on 162. Second. Any questions on that?
I'll make sure.
No, the explanation was good.
So, motion to amend our recommendation.
We haven't done this one yet.
Oh, we haven't.
No, we held this.
We held it. So motion to approve or to recommend the Board of Selectmen numbers for account number 162.
Second.
Are we just changing 5301, the amount of 5301?
That is the only difference between the TA and the Board of Selectmen.
There's one less officer.
Okay,
We have a second. Rachel?
Aye.
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 Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
Aye.
Did we do 161 as well?
Yeah, we did that.
We did?
Yeah.
Yes.
The next one on here is 179, but I think we want to hold that one, right?
Yes, they're gonna be before.
They're gonna come next. Okay. Agricultural Commission is gonna come Thursday with numbers.
Okay.
Before I move on to these, 192, or is that 193? 193, do we need, we don't need to do anything with that, right?
No.
Okay. All right, so departments 189, 192, and 195 to wrap up general government. Are there any questions? Take a motion to accept the TA recommendations.
I make a motion, we vote to accept the TA recommendations for departments 189, 192, and 195 as provided.
Seconded. Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, aye.
Just because some of these are some of the larger ones, I'll probably break these into relevant groups. So 210 and 215, leads and communications. Anybody has any questions on any of these?
Just the overtime increase, for the police department, number 210.
So Mike, Serena and I had a call with the chief this afternoon. And they've looked over those numbers 3 or 4 times to try and bring it down.
Yeah.
The main reason, the reserve officers, where that's changing in December. And then lack of ability to find reserve officers that they're feeling that that's
Did,
basically the
Okay, yeah.
lowest it's gonna be.
did you say we lost officers in December, reserve officers?
December reserve changes.
Yeah, like, so like in in calendar year 2027, the reserve program will be no longer. So like, so the closer we get to calendar year 2027, the harder it is to actually hire and train reserve officers because.
Because they know the time's limited, they're not gonna be there long. Yeah.
And so. And also in order to keep and have reserve officers be certified. We have to provide training, they have to be willing to go through training. Again, it's a perfect storm of all these issues happening. So the reality is the reserve officers who have always filled in and allowed us to have a fairly modest overtime budget as a result. I think we're down to 3 reserve officers at this point. Thankfully, we've had the ability to bring up a lot of our reserve officers up through the ranks. So those reserve officers haven't actually jumped to another town. We've been able to bring them up. So like it's full-time officers in the department, but there isn't a pool. There's no longer a pool of reserve officers to replace them. And sorry, go ahead.
So the reserve officers tend to be young men looking to make it a profession and not retired officers looking for a little part-time work.
Those have been the only reserve officers who we've been able to recruit. So in years past, there's been a broader spectrum of reserve officers. But because of the state training, and certification requirements, so a lot of the older, more broad-based reserve officers who may have done it in the past as a second job, they don't have the ability because it is a second job to now go through all the training requirements as well. That on top of the training and certification requirements that our full-time officers have to go through to maintain, their status and accreditation. So based on those increased requirements as well,
You need more.
they
research.
take officers off the street that then need to be backfilled as well. So as I mentioned, it's really a perfect combination of a whole bunch of things. And yeah, that's really where we are.
And you said that so basically the 5107 for reserve officers by 2027 will be zeroed out, right? Is that what you're saying? And then what will result most likely over time is just, if we can't get more regular officers, it'll continually increase that over time.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a lot of questions when I first saw that number, it does make sense.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
My only question was where we landed from the last time I got to see, the BOS on the harbor master. It's like we finalized and we have an actual budget for that now based upon the TA and Board of Selectmen recommendations.
Yeah, yes.
Same as TA. Everything, the whole department. I'll try and point out if I see a difference too.
Yeah.
The chief really put a lot of effort in spending that program.
The harbor master.
Organizational wise and checks down, accountability.
Do you believe that the harbor master role is one of those roles that needs to be revisited sooner rather than later in terms of responsibilities? While it is a stipend, I agree with what we have budgeted this year with the 2%. I think the amount of time, the responsibilities, and the potential hazards in situations they get put in probably warrants something more than what we're doing for them here.
Did he say there's an officer on every? Or there's gonna be an officer when there's no assistant on the,
Yes, and like part of the structure here that we're. That we're visioning, for the movement towards as well, like is having the offices more involved in the housing master department as well. Because of different challenges that the housing master department faces. Both of the issues that they have to deal with and so forth. One of the things, to your point, Mr. Rendon, one of the very real possibilities, or very soon very real realities with police reform is there has been a lot of talk about posts, which is a peace officers standards commission, including harbor masters in those offices who need to actually be certified by post. If and when that happens, that's kind of a lurking possibility right now that will have that will have the impact of really transforming how every housing master department operates. So, and we agree, the chief to that point, it's why he's already proposing to create a structure that is more associated with his. So his own department here as well.
So that's why it's under the police budget, because that's really where it's gonna end up. Probably the purview is gonna be, and his role is gonna be something.
So
I mean, it is now to a degree, but he's envisioning that.
his role is already responsible for managing that.
Yeah.
So it just really sets the expectation that the HUD master program is actually part of and will be part of the police chief structure.
And then the only other thing I saw was in the expenses section, the departmental request for the harbor master had $3,000 in there for additional equipment, but it doesn't look like TA or board of selectmen. Is there no need for that? Is that?
he has the ability, or the town has the ability through there's a fund
Okay,
that from the mooring fees can go to pay for equipment.
Oh, all right.
So that's why there's really no reason for it to be in.
Yeah, that $3,000 was just really a contingency anyways, that had never really been spent or utilized, so.
Any other questions on those two? Questions? Take a motion?
I'll take a motion to approve TA recommendations for the following 210 and 215.
Second,
Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Move on to 220 and 231. Fire and ambulance. And I think we probably asked this when the chief was here, the TA and the board of selectmen salary for the chief was higher than his request. Did he just compute it
That
wrong?
was his contract, so we updated.
Okay, okay,
So I didn't change the departmental request.
okay,
It should be 65, 343, 24,
okay.
and then that's split between ambulances.
And I guess one thing that's different. In the past, we've always voted at this point on how much in the ambulance fund we were gonna pay for the ambulance account. And that's we've already got 300 and
380.
380 in this. included in the revenue.
Yes, and just for operations, and then, what we're also proposing is the additional 25,000 for the ambulance. And then, I think around another 25,000 for the CPR would also come from the ambulance fund as well. And that does leave a pretty healthy and sustainable revenue there as well.
The 34, it's 34,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
And then the lease payment.
And then, yeah, then the lease.
Tax credits, right?
Yes.
Any questions on either of those?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the budgets for departments 220 and 231 as per TA recommendation.
Second.
All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Go through all the building departments. 241, 242, 243, 244, and 245. The for the food allowance, the TA and the board of selectmen were more than the department request, but I think that was you guys are bringing him up to what others are.
Yes. And we're gonna have the uniform and good allowance for each of the three permitting departments even. So in terms of the building commissioner, the health agent and the conservation agent, like up until now, there has been disparity between the three. That's just, there's no, there's never that, so there's never been any quote unquote, or pun intended, uniformity there. That was a good one, but so nobody wanted to level set that.
Any questions on any of those?
Motion to accept the TA recommendations for department budgets. 241, 242, 243, 244, and 245.
Seconded. All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
And we'll go through the rest of the public safety. 292, 294.
295, we skipped now, right?
Yeah, 295, we just skipped. And 299. Any questions on any of those?
I have one question. The animal control officer. Who supervises that department, I guess, sir?
Chief of police.
Okay.
That's been streamlined as well. They used to be, used to be supervised by the chief of police and the board of health. That led to a lot of confusion. So we've tried to streamline that expectation as well, and it's worked out wonders.
Okay.
Any questions on those?
I make a motion to accept the departmental budgets as recommended by the town administrator for departments 292, 294, and 299.
Second,
All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Okay. Only question, moving on to education, 300. The only question I have, I know we haven't gotten any adjusted numbers for them and as far as I know, is Rehoboth even planning on voting at all?
Yes, I understand they are.
Okay.
And there, we heard. I heard yesterday there might, be like a small, it might end up being a small reduction in the final assessment. But yeah, the numbers here, so are solid.
You know, when is Rehoboth voting? End of May?
Meeting is next week, I believe, the 5th.
This would be this week, right?
I can.
Fifth would be Friday. Soon.
Yeah, their town meeting is the 1st part of May.
Okay.
Yes.
For the education, I have a question. So the tuition reduction from E and D of $504,000, was that just Dayton's share of the reduction?
Yes.
Okay.
The total was 1.17.
1.1697775.
And but that's applied to the current years, so like it offsets what's already been appropriated, so it doesn't affect the proposed.
Coming up.
2024 budget.
Okay. So by being allocated to something we already voted, an amount we already voted on last year. And so this 504 is being allocated towards this present budget.
To the 23. Currently, that 504 is being proposed for 2 capital articles. That would propose to be a transfer from the current year's already approved budget, which the education budget, based on the offset, like it's gonna be, so it's gonna be in excess
Correct.
of 504,000.
Yes.
So we would reappropriate that to funding this year to propose to do capital projects that wouldn't have any impact on the FY 24 budget with regards to the education assessment or anything else.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions on education?
I do have one more. So we had the general fund of 3,580,524, which was the total E and D. So I'm certified for the total for the district. So what then?
Oh, so, okay, the total certified E and D, so they provide is some, I don't have that in front of
So
me.
$3,580 and 524 was the total E
Yep.
and D, right? So with the 1,169,000 that's going to be credited towards this year's budget, what happens to the other 2,400,000?
That, so yes, so that's within the 5% E and D that the school district so essentially gets to treat like free cash.
Okay,
And so I believe their current year assessment in total, so I believe is offset by E and D.
mm-hmm,
Yeah, that E and D, the under 5% E and D
correct,
to the tune of around $750,000 in total.
okay,
Which I was mentioned when he was here, there is a sustainability question with that. But that 750,000 has been a pretty tried and true, like, I mean, as far, so yeah, for the 3 budgets I've been here. For that, the 750 hasn't increased or decreased.
they're pretty steady, right?
It's not what it's upset.
Thank you.
Any questions on education? Motion,
Make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator's recommendation for the Department 300 as provided.
Second.
all in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
your eye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
This is a off the mark question, but any idea if they're gonna vote on Freetown getting into VP?
Rehoboth,
Yeah,
I haven't seen that one.
No, I haven't. I was originally told it was gonna be until the fall. That was holding up, that was going to hold up their admission,
yeah,
which was frustrating BP as well.
yeah, because if they hold off, well, I guess either way, we still won't be able to have any kids go there till the following fall. All right, group some of these, all the highways together. 422, 423, 429, and 432. Any questions on any of these?
I have a question for the bridge energy. Account 5210. Town administrator recommendation is 1,000, the board of selectmen 100.
It was corrected to
Oh.
1,000. I checked that too.
You're just testing us.
Making sure everybody's paying
It's
attention.
just a zero. It's nothing.
Yes, accountants, we have little things that we can have fun with, right?
Right. Just one place.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Any other questions on any of the highway?
Was it you including 432?
Yes.
Okay.
422, 423, 429, 432.
Okay. So on our capital outlay, we were looking at some drainage projects on some of the streets. Would that affect that department at all?
These are separate. Those would be separate from, this is the operating budget.
Okay.
Projects
Okay,
that we're funding to fund separately.
okay. Thank you.
Motion to make the recommendation in accordance with the TA recommendations for Department of 422, 423, 429, 432.
All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Plus, just before I go on to the waste and sanitation, transfer station, do you want me to hold transfer station?
No, like, so yeah, like if the FinCom wants it, I don't anticipate any issues with that, but
Okay,
like it was just an inadvertent that it was actually left off
okay.
last Monday's agenda.
So let's look at, do total sanitation. 433 and 435. For 435, the Board of Selectmen are going to vote on it on Thursday.
So I have one question with the transfer station. Overtime additional hours has been added and the salary for the landfill attendant has gone up. Is he putting in more time?
The funding, the proposed funding allocated for the landfill attendant. Would actually be approximately a $10,000 increase from where it was funded in the Board of Health. What we're working on now in the selectmen approved the updated job description last week is that we hire a so like a part-time 14-hour position, 14-hour week position, which would be an increase of 5 hours a week. Where we would hire a landfill attendant / laborer. So our employee working at the transfer station would have the ability, and we would hire an employee to be more than attendant. So while the transfer station was quiet, the attendant laborer could have the opportunity to sweep, to clean, to organize, to be responsible for the day-to-day or the regular maintenance of the area. So and also that they would have the ability to fill in with the highway department to fill in on any other projects during his or her working hours as well. So additionally, to make this really work and appealing, right now we have the transfer station open on Wednesday mornings from 9 to 11, I believe. What we would do is we would, when we post the position, we would also inherently change the hours of the transfer station from a random time on Wednesday and Saturday to Friday, Saturday. So to make it more appealing for someone actually to want to pick up those hours. We wouldn't change or increase the hours right now that we were open on Fridays. That would actually free up. So 5 hours every Friday for that employee to deliver trash bags, for the employee to keep up with the regular operation and maintenance of the transfer station. What has happened in the past is we've had an attendant who based on the prior job description was an attendant. So when the transfer station was quiet, the employee, we didn't pay the employee to have any other functions.
Correct.
So the attendant was the attendant. Here, so the attendant would have the ability to do more things. I've also maintained a PO, so the point of sale system, which we actually we just self-ordered the technology for that as well. So we should be able to have that up and running as well.
Okay.
So we are based, and thanks to the efforts of the solid waste committee, we're really trying to make sure we're structuring our solid waste program more with actually a recognition on what the true costs of running that program, how we pass on those costs to the users who utilize it. So it doesn't have to be frankly subsidized by a general operating budget. And so that is so this effort is really the first part of that effort. I do expect more efforts and recommendations to come because just those budgets alone, last year they did an increase of $100 and almost $15,000. This year was an additional just in solid waste, not including the labor. This year was an additional $15,000 on top of that. So as part of that as well, the Board of Selectmen, together with the Board of Health and solid waste, they have actually looked and updated the transfer station fees as well. So we're actually, when we take things in, so in terms of our fee structure, are actually reflecting the town's food costs. So like the island cost of disposing those items.
Right.
And before, we had a tendency to just keep those fees low because we didn't want to raise them. But without understanding what it was really doing to our budget.
Mhm.
And it had a profound effect.
Thank you.
Over the last year or so. And mandates from the state. Specifically with the transfer station. That I'm funded and have increased tremendously.
Yeah.
One of the mandates is the maintenance of the transfer station. On a daily basis, sweeping the parking lot area. The big one, the really time consuming one, is that all brush, tree limbs be grounded down and removed. That takes about 2 hours a week. Usually, Tom Perry was using 2 men to do that. Those are mandates that are inspected by DEP. And they threatened communities with sanctions if they don't maintain it, and they do check. And good. But that reflects in the increase in.
Mhm.
So what are they chipping it or are they just taking it out? Yeah.
And bring the chipper in. And then they call it sawdust.
Yeah.
That's work, labor
Mhm.
and money.
Now, there are mandates about what you gotta do with the,
The sawdust?
yeah, with the
I don't know what Tom does.
shavings. I'm just
Yeah. I
curious.
don't know what-
Makes horrible mulch, but I've seen people use it that way. I just didn't know if the town was taking it and reselling it to.
Pellets down.
Sort of
If there was a market.
Exactly, yeah. So I have a question on 5131 there, overtime additional hours. But the transfer station's only open for so many hours. Why do we have over?
So we would have one employee, be the attendant. Be the attendant laborer, but when that one employee, so inevitably has a day off, has a vacation, has a sick day. The overtime additional hours would be for the highway personnel. The highway personnel only on a Saturday to fill in. So if it's on a Friday, the highway personnel would be able to fill in. So under their regular weekly hours.
Oh.
But if it's Saturday, it's overtime.
Right.
So that, so $3,100 would be dedicated for a highway department employee working overtime to fill in on a Saturday.
Thank you.
And one more time, I'm sorry, Mike, but did you say it was 14 hours you're looking for that landfill attendant?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And I think I remember they talked about moving it to the Friday and Saturday. They expected an increase in traffic, which is a positive.
Any questions on that?
No, I make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator recommendations for Department 433 and 435 as presented.
All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Cemetery?
Yeah, go to 491. Any questions on 491?
No, the increase was is the contractual mowing.
Right.
Good.
Any other questions on that?
If you've never toured all 25 cemeteries that we maintain.
125?
25.
Oh, 25. I was gonna say. Where are they hidden?
They're everywhere. Just look on your Apple Maps, they're all over the place.
No questions, we'll take a motion.
I make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator recommendations for Department 491 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Okay. 510.
Is it 51, 58? That's the differential? The communication allowance? Between departmental request and TA recommendation?
No, it's a little more than that.
Yeah.
Oh, 5102 is also changed. I would assume that 5102 the change reflects, contract negotiation, is that?
And no, those changes actually 5101 and 5102 reflects 2%.
The other difference is in food allowance 5152.
I can also, taking out of the communication allowance. We have procured new town issued cell phones, which those plans are cheaper than what we reimbursed employees for. And with all the emphasis on public records and everything else, it's, so if we do have any public records requests and so forth, at least we totally own the phone that all the records are on. So it's like, and so, yeah, so with that, part of the adjustments in the board of selectmen budget, were for an increase to the commingled communications line, which was offset and funded in part by the reduction of 720 in the board of health, conservation, and the building department.
Okay.
Okay. Do you anticipate them spending a lot of last year's expenses in the last quarter?
This last year has been a real transition year, as we know, for the board of health. We hope as we continue to transition that we're able to really prioritize different types of trainings. And professional trainings and development, so we can actually further build and strengthen that department. So I do think this year, so when you look at just the year to date, we're dealing with an anomaly year.
Okay. Questions on any of this? 510?
I make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator recommendations for Department 510 as provided.
Seconded. All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, sorry.
Susan, I.
541, I'm like in a zone.
All right, we'll move on to 541, 542. I'm sorry, no 542, 541, 543. 549.
One, four, three, and 549.
Uh, 549 is another one of those positions that the TA recommendation reflects a 2% increase.
Yes, sir.
Not that there's anyone watching, but besides Rachel. The Memorial Day Parade, is that in Dayton this year?
I'm sorry,
Memorial Day Parade is in Dayton this year?
Don't have a parade.
we don't have,
No, okay,
We have a ceremony.
ceremony. Is that still moved between Dayton and Rehoboth or no?
no,
No, okay. Can you tell I'm not usually around on Memorial Day?
there's not an interest.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The DI usually goes to remote.
I make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator recommendations for departments 541, 543, and 549 as presented.
Seconded. All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Cultural and culture and recreation. 610, 630. 690. 691 and 696.
Well, 696, cable, 698.
698. Just for informational purposes, 698 is offset by revenue for the full 36 as well.
Yeah, more, it's more than offset, isn't it?
The only thing in revenue is the 36, the cost for cable access. Our cost is reimbursed. The
Yes.
full, yeah.
The dedicated revenue account that funds that.
Right.
I do have one question, library,
Is
5340, the communications. Are those also phones? And are those not going under the,
no, 5340, the library director's phone is included in the communications commingle.
right?
Let me,
I think that communications is public,
Yeah.
like flyers
and
things
stuff.
like
Flyers,
that.
mailing,
Yeah.
costs?
yeah, stamps mail into library.
Okay. Thank you.
That would be a pretty cheap cell phone if we got that.
Yeah. Say, where'd you get that from?
No data.
Yeah, right, yeah. 25-cent text messages.
Questions on any of those?
Nope.
Motion to approve the recommendation by the TA for departments of 610, 630, 690, and 691, and 698.
Second.
All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
We'll move on to debt service. 710, 751, and 752. Those.
Any anticipated increases for the short-term debt?
No,
Okay.
I believe it's.
I don't know.
It's zeroed out, yeah.
Yeah, it is zeroed out, yeah.
It scared me for a second.
Just asking if there's anything coming down the pike that's gonna trigger something for that.
Mhm.
No,
All right.
Those 710, 751.
Did you even want to vote on 752?
It's zero. You don't have
Okay. So Joe, just 750, 710, 751.
I make a motion, we vote to accept the town administrator recommendations for departments 710, 751, and 752 as presented.
Seconded.
All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
We're moving on to the next, I guess, just because this is a newer thing. The 820 and 830. In essence, the expenses have always been buried. And so what they've done is brought them out to everybody's attention so they could see what the costs to the town are for the various motor vehicle excise, mosquito control, when you see the guy sleeping in his truck. Pollution controls and the regional transit authority, which I did ask Mike if I could pick up the bus to get here tonight, but and a county tax assessment. Just so these are all spelled out in the for the townspeople to see what we actually do have to kick back to everybody else for different expenses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Yep, this was the governor's budget that came out on February 27th. So it's still a work in progress. But these are the numbers that we have right now.
Okay.
Any questions?
Do we have any indication as to whether or not we can expect these to go up or down?
Typically the assessments don't fluctuate that much. There still needs to be like another 2 or 3 votes. So sometimes they fluctuate a little bit. It's mostly the receipts that will fluctuate more depending as it goes through the House for voting. It won't get settled until July.
Sure. And same here, if these change, if the final number changes, we just do a reserve transfer or wait till the end of the year and transfer money to. Okay. Any questions on, any other questions? 820 or 830?
No.
Take a motion.
Motion to approve the TA recommendations for 820 and 830.
Seconded. All in favor, Rachel?
Aye.
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Employee benefits, I'm gonna run the whole list here, 911, 912, 914, 915, 916, 919, and 920. Any questions on any of these? No, we'll pull, strike that 912. 912's not no longer needed. 11.
We're up to 916.
So we are 911, 914, 915, 16, 19, and 20. Questions on any of those?
Nope. I make a motion, we vote to approve the TA recommendations for departments 914, 911, excuse me, 914, 915, 916, 919, and 920.
Seconded.
All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Peter, aye.
Jacob, I.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Move on to 945 liability insurance. Mike, the only question I have is, does the cyber policy, is that in here also?
Yes, it is.
Okay. We've gotten quotes for all these now, or we're still waiting on any?
Waiting for everything to be finalized. To be honest with you, we were way more optimistic that we'd have some savings, but as we know, the insurance market is
Blood black. Yeah.
predatory.
Still, these numbers you think are still good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions on 945?
I just have if there's additional expenditures through the capital outlays for things like the workers' comp, is that accounted for in this or is that come from reserve? Like if there's additional projects that are approved throughout the year, that results in an increase in workers' comp premium because we know it's tied directly to payroll expenditure, right? Is it just come from reserve basically?
So if we have, so like our current employees, so in-house employees who would. Who we have performed a lot of the capital projects. They're already included in, so like in our rating, so in our workers' comp rating.
Yep.
So they're already classified as really performing those functions. So they're already classified as such. Any contractor that we bring on, we require that they have their own insurance, so like it wouldn't go into ours.
Okay.
So knock on wood, again, our experience rating has actually been has really been steadily declining. So in terms of our workers' comp, so that's why we've been able to see, hope to God, I just didn't jinx it. But
Yeah, right, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, knock on wood.
no, that's good. Okay, thank you.
The questions on 9:45? No question?
Motion to approve TA recommendations for account 945.
Second.
All in favor, Rachel,
Aye.
Robert,
Aye.
Peter, I.
Jacob, bye.
Susan, I.
David, I.
Okay. Sewer enterprise, the only question that we typically ask is of them is if they have any known projects for their 150,000 of annual capital expense, but
They do.
okay.
What we envision, based on the plan upgrade, down on Somerset Ave by the police station. That where we have the ability to utilize ARPA to fund the majority of that, but the sewer will be kicking in part of that 150, a big part of that 150 to help actually fund that as well.
Okay. Just for member knowledge.
Yeah.
Sewer enterprise does, as an enterprise fund, this doesn't come out of the regular budget. This comes from their free cash, retained earnings, and their fees.
Okay.
We have some oversight on, but not really.
And what we want to be, I guess, like going out forward, which is why, we have even though a sewer has been gracious and so in offering up that a big part of that 150 for the pump station project. Yeah, you will see that they're proposing to draw a lot on their retained earnings in the upcoming fiscal year, more than they typically have. So if I had my hopes, we wouldn't actually we would hold back on drawing a lot of that capital funds. We put the burden more on ARPA. So because based on where we would be at the end of this, our retained earnings going in for I believe going into FY24 based on this would put us at a retained earning balance of $103,000, which is way lower than we've been, which I think that's the next. So in terms of the structural things we're looking at, yeah, will really need to be the focus of attention in the next year.
Assume that we want to hold off on articles until Thursday.
Did everything in the world make sense so far? In the spreadsheet in terms of, the anticipated costs and the different funding sources that we do have available to fund those things.
Has everybody had a chance to look at the articles
I
and
did read through them last night. I didn't have any real big questions over.
the spreadsheet on
Where the money comes from?
summary? Yeah.
Just briefly glanced at that. But it was late.
Did we get the fire engine?
No, not yet. 2 years in the making.
Yeah. Is he expecting it this before?
Yes.
We're gonna need it for Lenny's parade. He's gonna throw.
Yeah.
Supply chain. Supply chain issue.
I know, not the discussion for today, but I still feel like we need to do something for the fire department. I feel terrible that they're just blacklisted when they're trying to do stuff. It's terrible. Because they just have no buying power because they only buy 9 to 12 articles at a time. So they put in their order and they never get their supplies.
Yeah.
I wish we could find some other towns that are about our size that could go together for a larger order so that we weren't being ignored, you know?
Yeah, some sort of collaborative.
Correct.
And the question was basically around who's gonna control that and, you know, who's gonna be in charge and stuff like that. But I don't, it's better than not having, better than not having what we need, you know? So,
Mention
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure we're not the only town feeling that problem, you know?
Anyone have any preliminary questions on any of the articles?
Not yet, no.
Hold those till Thursday.
How many articles? We got 27.
Standpoint, it's really 3, 12, 13, 14, 15, 3 to 24. Well, 12 to 24 and plus 3.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get Karen's email on Monday. Luckily, Sue was able to give this to me, so I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
No other preliminary questions? Open the floor to public input.
The only question. West. My job is. Capital outlay priority is.
Oh, yeah.
If we could have a copy of that, especially when it comes time. We do the articles.
I just realized I have on my emails. I apologize.
What?
Yeah, like I haven't been including you on everything.
It's all right.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Oh my God, you should have told me to reach out anytime, honestly.
Yeah,
I realize that.
We'll connect. I'll make sure you have all my, I think you should have my stuff, but if you don't, I'll give it to you again.
It just actually put 2 and 2 together with what you were saying. I apologize.
2 a.m. Good time to reach.
Yeah, you up looking for spreadsheets.
Need something to help me get back to sleep.
Yeah, when I'm feeding my son at 3 a.m.
Anything else? Lynn?
No.
Rachel, anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Right. Robert, anything else for you? Anybody else on this side?
No,
We're good.
Then let's take a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn?
Second?
All in favor? Rachel?
Aye.
Robert?
Aye.
Your aye.
Jacob, bye.
Sue, aye?
David, I.
All right, we'll see you on Thursday.
Bye,
I
thank
see-
you.
Bye, Rachel.
Get COA on Thursday.
Bye.